Welcome to Elliot and I's podcast, What We Want, Gen Z's Thoughts on Leadership. My name's Vendela.
And I'm Elliot.
And Elliot, do you want to start us off? I mean, honestly, this is our first recording, guys.
Yep.
I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm excited. So here we go.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Come on,
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Okay, so what are we talking about today, first of all?
So talking about leadership styles, different leadership styles, and maybe what we think are effective leadership styles, what we think are leadership styles that maybe aren't as effective. Do we see those leadership styles in different leaders today or in the past? Or, this is all about Gen Z's thoughts on leadership. So what do we want? You know what I mean? So let's just dive right into it with the first leadership style that we got. So we had to go and research this because just to preface, we're not leadership professionals. So
No.
this is, just to preface. So this was all kind of garnered in the last 2 weeks, our thoughts on these different leadership styles. So the first one that I have here is laissez-faire. It's not spelled like that at all.
Oh.
But this one's, it's spelled Laissez.
Did you look up the pronunciation on that, or just because I don't know either, but you sound like you really know.
I think it's pronounced laissez-faire.
Okay, nice. That's how I'm going to say it
I
then.
think so. Don't quote me on that. I think so. But pretty much what the laissez-faire style is, it's actually comes from the French word laissez-faire, and it's allow to do. So basically it's about delegation and not a lot of supervision. So it's about kind of you think of almost like a leader that, for example, a CEO who delegates all of his sort of needs to lower people. So in a big organization, or almost like a shareholder where they don't really do anything other than be a spokesperson for the company. And they're perceived as the head of the company, but they don't do all the work that they might have in the past.
That?
Almost. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost. And it's all about creating systems in place where you can delegate the work and the workload. So I think of a CEO who's not as kind of part of the main things of the company anymore, like someone who's been successful in what they're doing and kind of laying off a little bit. I think of a shareholder for a company. I think this actually originated when I was doing research. This actually obviously originated from France, the wording, but actually the type of leadership originated from the French Revolution, because whoever the king was at the time or whatever just did not do any of the work.
Yeah.
I forget what it was.
I wonder if it means lazy. And by the way, Mike did put in the chat that it's laissez-faire.
Laissez-faire.
Yeah.
Laissez-faire. Yeah. I was close, okay? I was close.
It's laissez-faire in case you see this. Oh, thanks, Mike. But I feel I'm actually looking it up in Google Translate right now because I love words and stuff like that. So I'm going to look that up. Let's do English to French. Let's do lazy. No. Or I don't know. I feel like it's a loose translation. Anyway, sorry. You lost train of thought. I just get interested in stuff like that.
No, that's what this is about. We're supposed to get sidetracked multiple times.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's that leadership style. I feel like I see that a lot in kind of companies and businesses. But yeah, pretty simple one. The next one that I saw researching is the democratic leadership style. So we all kind of know about this one. It's all about it's a democracy kind of run by the people. So we think of America or places countries that are, I don't know any other countries that are democracy, but you know what I mean. America is a democracy, okay? So we have democratic leadership.
We only researched leadership styles, guys.
We did not research geographically, okay? I'm not a history major. I don't claim to be a history major. I watched National Geographic 5 times as a kid. Okay.
Oh.
So yeah. I was big on the brain rot TV shows.
Oh, big SpongeBob guy over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's pretty simple. So I think of America, and even like it's kind of interesting to think about how it's like run by the people. Even in America, though, uh, what that term "run by the people" can really be a loose word because we think of, even in today's society, uh, not everyone has the same rights. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Even though it sort of maybe feels that way, but I feel like it is definitely a talking point as to like run by the people, like what does that really mean? Because I know that like that's the definition of this type of leadership, but like
Right.
even thinking like in a societal standpoint, like what is truly run by the people. I even think of like I think of like voting, right? Like you have the popular vote and you have the electoral college.
Yeah.
Popular vote is like straight from the people, and the electoral college is like, I mean, I get why it's there too, but like it's just like, I don't know, something that popped up when I was thinking about this.
Yeah. I feel like also when we're looking at these leadership styles, looking at like how like you said, like how effective they are, but also like
Yeah.
the degree in which people can abuse them too. Like you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Like
mm-hmm.
I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's
definitely.
definitely a high degree of like ability to like kind of abuse that system, but then you have to trade that for like maybe having like absolutely no say in anything with some of these stricter leadership styles. So yeah, I
Hmm.
definitely think there's ability for that in democratic. Mm.
Yeah, and even talking about more stricter leadership styles, next one that I had was autocratic leadership. So autocratic leadership is like literally an authoritarian leader. Like they have ultimate authority and power over others. They tend to make choices based on their own ideas and like don't listen to anyone else.
Mhm.
Um, so that's not to be confused with a tyrant. Can a tyrant be an autocratic leader? Yes, but that's not always the case because, like, we think of autocratic like North Korea, right? Like,
Mhm.
no one else has a say. It's a dictatorship. So that's kind of how I think of it. And even like leadership isn't always found in places of like leadership. I don't know. Like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like basically we have leadership in a country, but you can have leadership every day and you can show leadership every day. So I think of
Yeah,
like though those people who just like don't listen to anyone else's thoughts and just do what they want to do and don't listen to anyone else. That's autocratic leadership. So I know a few
yeah.
people because I've been in a few group projects that didn't go very well.
Call them out, Elliot. Call
Yeah,
them
no,
out.
I'm not gonna call them out. No names. No names. But I have had a few people that have autocratic leadership. Sometimes in a group project, that's a good thing because you don't get to do the work. But it also can be a bad thing if you have a large group and everyone wants to have a say in what you're talking about, and one person takes charge as the leader and doesn't listen to anyone
Right.
else. So it
Yeah.
all ends up crashing down. So this is also what's considered like a very coercive type of leadership
Mm.
because you are forcing people to do something literally and legally, um,
Mhm.
depending on where this leadership is occurring. So yeah, that's definitely the strictest type of leadership uh,
Yeah. Wait, can
that
I
I learned
say
about.
something before you
Yeah,
go on
yeah,
to the next one?
yeah,
I feel like I like how you were saying like these are leadership styles, but like sometimes I feel like people think that each person like in order to be deploying a leadership style, you need to be working in like a job or like this is leadership style for my boss or whatever. But I feel
yeah.
like I like these, like you were saying, more as like mindsets. Like, do you have an autocratic mindset, a democratic mindset, a laissez faire mindset? I feel like that is kind of interesting to think about too, like how different people prefer different ways of delegating tasks and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just going off of that, like definitely, and like it switches daily, like in minutes a minute, because like sometimes you feel like I don't want to listen to what this person has to say. Like, I
Hmm.
do not want to listen to what this person has to say. And sometimes you're like, let me get second opinions. So, and it depends. So it's like sometimes,
On the environment too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So different things impact the way you think, and I think it's interesting to put these into not boxes, but like categories, so you can kind of understand how you're thinking and what you're thinking and why. And I think honestly, like going through your thought process, almost like a back in like not elementary school, high school, they did like the thought bubbles or whatever to like track your
Mhm.
thoughts, like almost like doing those steps back in your head to like figure out what the root of the problem is. Um, Like, even if you're thinking like, I don't want to listen to this person. Okay, why don't I want to listen to this person? And it could be something like simple as they have nothing good to say.
You don't like
Or
them.
yeah, or you don't like them. Like, but like, I think it's still important to get everyone's opinion, because everyone deserves to have an opinion, even if you don't agree with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah,
Interesting that idea of like liking somebody though, because I feel like you could deploy any of these styles, and if somebody doesn't like you, it's just like that's that. I feel like
yeah, yeah,
likability is such a huge factor in
yeah.
being a good leader now, at least, which I
Hmm.
kind of will touch on later. I feel like, but it's changed a lot. Where like your personality is like a huge part of whether or not people want to
Yeah.
follow you. At least for me, and probably for you, and probably for Gen Z. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, and then the last one that I had, transformational leadership. So this is one of my favorite types of leadership styles. It's
Mm.
basically, as it sounds, transformational. So it's like you encourage, inspire, motivate, the people in your group to perform in ways that create like meaning and change. So you are shaping them as you are leading them. That sounds bad. Not shape, like
Mm.
not like changing the way they, I mean, you do change the way they think, but in a positive way. You're
Mhm.
creating an example that allows everyone else to think about, how can I better affect our group, environment, community, whatever it is. So it's like you get people to think about things in different ways. So I think of like transformational leaders. I think of Mother Teresa, transformational leader, got people to think in a
Mm.
lot of different ways. Think of Gandhi, Martin Luther King, people who changed the way that people think about different societal norms, different issues, and things like that. So that's definitely one of my favorite styles of leadership, because it not only impacts what you think on the outside and what you externally do, but it impacts internally what you think about not only the group or community, but yourself as well.
Now, is there a lot of room for like creativity, I'm assuming, in that too? Like it's
Yeah,
like you're
definitely.
yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Um yeah, no, I like those. I think that's interesting. I have so many things I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna wait till I say all mine, and then we'll talk about it after.
Okay. I mean,
um,
yeah.
but I'm literally just like
Wow. Wow. The notes go
I know the
crazy.
notes go crazy. Uh, my notes app apology is so long. Okay, so my first one is transactional leader. So I have three. So transactional leader. So this is like a leadership style that focuses on structure, order, and like achieving specific goals. And this is
Hmm.
super focused on like rewards and punishments. To be honest, like it's like if you do something good, you get reward. If you do something bad, you're gonna get punished. And this whole kind of idea was sort of in like retaliation to this emphasis on the born leader. So like there was this idea called the great man theory, where like people were just born and they were just like amazing leaders. And in like the early like 1900s, people were this is like kind of it's just like 100 years after first industrial revolution, kind of like second. It's just like people are really focused on innovation and just like efficiency, and
Hmm.
they don't like that some people are born leaders and other people aren't, because everybody needs to be part of this like really efficient system in order for them to succeed. So I think that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I get really into like the history of that, and so that's kind of where this idea is born of doing tasks very detailed, a very strict hierarchy of who's in charge. And obviously this looks really good for like sales teams and like project based stuff with like bigger teams.
Yeah.
um, and then it's very external motivation, like money, praise, or recognition is used to drive the team to like get these results that they need. And
Hmm.
but the only cons are that like we kind of talked about, there's like really no room for creativity. There's not really any like connection between like coworkers or other people on your team, or just like in general, there's not a lot of empathy. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like what it lacks. But one example it said was Bill Gates with Microsoft, which, of course, with a company as big as Microsoft, you really have to be that kind of leader, because
Hmm.
there's just so many moving parts in that, especially with a startup. So, well, not anymore, but
Yeah.
I think that that kind of benefited him being that transactional leader. Not a
Hmm.
big fan of that one, like, personally, I feel like I would not thrive in that environment,
Yeah.
because I'm a pretty creative person, but that was the first one. Um, and then the
Yeah, I feel
second
like,
one,
oh,
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like I think of like transactional leader. I feel like I think of like ants,
Yeah,
in a community, like they each have their job, they do their job. There's nothing else to it. You know
right.
what your role is, and you do your role.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is the next one I feel like is even more what you're saying because the next one is
Mm,
bureaucratic leadership and it's basically like
mm,
part 2 to this because it's the same like hierarchy, the same super like detailed task based, but the goal is to for the community to succeed. Like so it's like
okay.
everybody will succeed when everybody does their part and I kind of like that to be honest. Like I mean, you've heard me talk about how like community and like
Yeah.
I just like I like that kind of stuff. But obviously similarly, not a ton of room for creativity. It's pretty impersonal, detached. And the main focus is not on an individual's contributions, but on the success
Hmm.
of the organization. So I feel like that's your ant pile. That's your
Yeah,
ants.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I almost think like the difference between bureaucratic and transactional is all about like the individual. It's more about the individual person like
Mhm.
succeeding. If you're in like, it's almost like I work to get money, and as long as I get my paycheck, we're good.
Yeah.
I feel like bureaucratic is like, not only do I work for my paycheck, I work for the people around me who I
Yeah.
surround myself with.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's really what helps communities thrive, because it was all about, if it was all about ourselves, then we would be screwed. So
Right, right. And also like how well other people do is your livelihood too, you know? So
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that's an interesting concept to me and I feel like I mean if we're talking like even regionally, I do not think the western world would be able to thrive in a leadership style like that. I feel like we're
Hmm.
such an individualistic culture that it would not work. I feel like people definitely would like transactional more than bureaucratic if they had to choose.
Yeah,
Um but yeah, I think that's interesting. Also, like,
yeah. Almost,
it's just
oh,
like
go
a
ahead.
very community based in other countries, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I almost think of like a family, like almost um, like you're in a family. If you do well, everyone does well, like because that's your family. You support
Right.
them unconditionally, no matter what. So I almost think of it kind of like that. Like it's just easier
Yeah.
to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if they piss you off, it's like they're still your family, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah.
Like you're still gonna like at the end of the day, you're still gonna make dinner or you're still
Hmm.
gonna like do
Still
something
gonna
to
do the
support them.
dishes.
Yeah. I hate
Yeah.
dishes. That's actually no, my least favorite is laundry. That's my least favorite chore to have to do.
Mm, yeah.
Um, okay. The last one is servant leadership styles. So this one focuses on the greater good, and the leader, I guess, avoids prioritizing themselves and supports others through serving the organization as a whole. So there's high job satisfaction, uh, a great teamwork energy, flexibility, open communication, optimism, authenticity. So obviously this sounds pretty nice. Now, sometimes I'm like, does the leader feel this way? Because I feel like that's a lot on one
Yeah.
person. But we'll read about that later. And then the phrase actually like servant leadership was coined by Robert K. Greenleaf in The Servant as a Leader in the 70s. So this is a
Mm,
relatively new leadership style, to be honest.
yeah.
And it's honestly more of a mindset than an actual leadership style in my head, at least. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like there's not really any like specifics about task delegation or like whatever. Like, I just don't think this would work in like a business because
Yeah,
we're
like
talking.
I low key think it's like a little unrealistic, but
Yeah,
it's a great mindset type of thing.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's very hard. You would have to recruit very like-minded people, very like
yeah.
would have to be on board for that to be even able to work.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like it could be abused. Um, so that's kind of, and I was saying like that would probably be best for the church because we were
Yeah, definitely.
one of like the questions we were like looking at when we were researching is what would be good for the church, what would be good for our generation, what would be, and just kind
Hmm.
of like going through all these different ones. And I feel like this could be so great for later on when we're talking about different leaders too, because I'll just be able to be like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
it's so
Yep.
transactional of you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
uh, but yeah, so those are my three. I only had three. And I don't know, I feel like now that I know a lot of those, it's
Mhm.
really interesting to look at the generations, which I kind of was
Yeah.
researching a little bit later on because that's just a curiosity of mine is like how leadership changes through.
With generation, yeah.
How do you
Mhm.
think? I think you're gonna guess. Like, what do you think was popular then, and what do you think's popular now?
I feel like it was back then. I feel like it's obviously I didn't live back then, so like, but just from my research and for what
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
back then it's almost like I feel like it was easier because like there was less, at least in America itself, there was less like nowadays everyone wants to be the top and head of everything. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I feel like everyone wants to be everyone's the main character.
right.
Everyone's kind of like wanting to be something, which is not a bad thing to per
No.
se. But I feel like back then, like there were roles that people almost knew that they just had to be a part of. Like even in like I think early America, like the
Yeah.
big entrepreneurs, I think of like Carnegie and like people like that.
Bored and like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think nowadays, like anyone can be an entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's definitely, I feel like what's more important for today's society is to grow a community based leadership.
Mm.
That's how I feel because I know, at least from my past work experience, I want to be in a community. I don't want to be working for my paycheck because the truth is I can go anywhere and work for a paycheck. That's the
Yeah.
truth. Like
That's so true, actually.
I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere to work for a paycheck. What are you offering me on an emotional level, or on a
Yeah.
relational level, or on a
Fulfillment.
just yeah fulfillment type
Yeah.
of level? And the truth is, if you feel like your fulfillment needs are being met, then you will go. At least I know for me, I will go out of my own like comfort zone to reach other people and impact other people.
Yeah.
So I think that's how, and I know that sounds transactional, but I feel like that's subconsciously how we work as humans. So I think if you can make that environment, communities will be easier to build. I read a book a while back.
Mm.
It was a great book. It was called Start with Why. I think I have it on my bookshelf somewhere over there.
Can you
Maybe.
find it?
I might actually be able to. Oh wait,
If
no,
you
never mind. It was a library
no.
book. Never mind. It was a library book. It was a library book. I need to buy it actually. Hey, hold on, let me write that down.
Wait, what is it called?
Yeah, hold on, give me 1 second, or I'm gonna forget this. Okay,
Okay.
I need to buy
Okay.
that book. So it's called Start with Why by Simon Sulek.
Okay.
Sulek. I'm 95% positive that was his name. It was
Okay.
a fantastic
I'll believe
book.
you.
It was a great book, and it was all about not just in the business field. It was mainly about in the business field, but also just in community. Like, what is our why going into certain things? If you
Mm.
are building an organization, it has to start with why. Because if you don't start your organization, business, community, empire, whatever, with why, then even if you do manage to reach the top, it'll crumble down because you don't have a purpose of why you're here. So I
Yeah.
think that's so important for like leadership today, because if we don't have a why to why we're leading, to why we even want to lead or why we don't want to lead, then we won't have a clear idea of what we want to do in the world. We won't have a clear idea of how we can impact people or how we don't impact people. It goes both ways. So
Yeah.
that book definitely impacted me. I would recommend
Right.
that to anyone. So
I have a
yeah.
question for you.
Mhm.
So, do you think that the degree of how much people care about fulfillment or a purpose has changed, like gotten more, or it just looks different now? Because I feel like we see a
Mhm.
lot of leaders in older generations that were a lot less um I want to say they were probably more like transactional and like I mean
Yeah.
even when we think of politicians like very just strict and I'm gonna like get you what you need as an American, and now it's like similar, but also like I care about these issues and like this is me
Mhm.
as a person and this is my home life and like whatever. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's gotten so much more focused on the image. And I don't know if
Uh-huh.
that's because it just looks different
Definitely.
now. Like, what do you think about that?
Definitely. I mean, I definitely think like the change in technology has made it a lot easier for
Mm,
that to be a way of of how we lead. But I also think just in general, like even just thinking on a survivalistic type of thing, like from like two extremes, right? Like back way back in
mm,
the day, people were just trying to survive. They didn't
right.
have time to deal with image. They didn't
That's
have
so true,
time to do
actually. I mean, like,
like
if we're thinking about people in factories, they were not worrying about, like, I don't
yeah.
know, like reproductive rights because they can't even vote yet. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
that's so
So I
interesting.
think just thinking of like in an evolution standpoint of not only our country but people as a whole, like how where we've come and to where we are now. Obviously, there's a lot of things that a lot of things that still need to be brought to the table, dealt
Right.
with.
Yeah.
But I think at least now we have. I like. Ooh, we're gonna talk about this later in episodes. But I think like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have security. You know what I mean? You have your
Yes.
security, and you can move on to other to eventually self-actualization. And to be
Right.
self-actualized, you need to know what your values are, what your why is,
Right.
and where you're going. Anyway, we'll say
Yeah.
that for another episode. But
We'll save it for another
yeah.
episode, but that's actually so true. And also, I feel like that's one of the main reasons why leadership has changed so much now
Hmm.
because our generation is pretty well off in a lot of ways when it comes to like our basic rights. But I
Right.
think that it's coming down to these, issues that we feel really passionate about that maybe past
Hmm.
generations don't because they feel like all their basic needs are being met.
Yeah, definitely,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, that's actually a good
so
point. Like how like older generations might not think issues of today are that important.
yeah,
Like people will be like, um, global warming isn't that important, or whatever it is. I'm not. I'm
yeah.
just shooting it out there. Whatever it is, whatever it may be.
Whoa, Elliot,
Uh,
don't get controversial now.
no, but like what you know what I mean. How they
Yeah,
don't care about current issues because um they don't care about current issues because back then they didn't have those current issues and it
yeah,
doesn't pertain to them nowadays maybe as much
right,
as it did back then.
right.
um, so they have strong feelings about issues that they haven't researched or haven't looked at or have no clue what they're about because they haven't taken the time to look at them or look
I
into them
know.
or see
Are
how
you
see
scared?
how the issues impact people.
Yeah. Are you scared you're gonna be an old person like that someday?
I hope not. I
I know
really
I
hope
do
not. I hope
too.
I hope I'm cool with the kids when I'm old.
Well, I
you
already
know
find myself hating on Gen Alpha, and I need to stop that. I need to stop that. I need to.
Well, I think there's certain things that are okay to
Yeah.
show a bit of hate toward
Yeah.
not hate, but like
No, not hate.
hate,
Mike,
hate.
cut that
No,
out.
no, don't cut that out, Mike. I think it's okay to show hate. I'm kidding. But you know what I
Oh
mean. I
yeah.
think there's definitely certain things that have changed that I think are kind of stupid. Like for example,
Valid.
their sense of humor sometimes.
It's so
Um,
bad. It's so
But
bad.
also, you have to think about when we were their age, our sense of humor, was it as good? Was it as bad? Did the people, you know what I mean? Like, just take a bit of circumstance and think about,
Right.
like,
I feel like there
I
are
still think their sense
many.
of humor was worse, but
Yeah, of course. But I think there are many videos of me as a child that if they were released, I would need to go into hiding.
yeah,
So,
blackmail. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So I feel like maybe we're just as bad as some other older generations
Yeah, maybe,
in that way.
maybe.
We have to address our internal bias. But yeah, I was just so talking about all that, and then like obviously this wasn't part of it. I just like to look into this stuff, but I was looking at different generations, and then like we kind of talk about historical context. Well, like people are trying to put food on the table, so of course they're not going to be worrying about other things. But then also like just which like generations preferred which kinds of leadership. And then also about the generations too, which is interesting. And this one website from I think it was like Office R&D or something. It was so random, but they said their Gen Z is just beginning the workforce, so our leadership style is still developing. And I really
Hmm.
like that. Like I feel like
Hmm.
I like that it's still developing, and we still have a chance to like take from all the different ones, because if we're really talking about leadership styles as mindsets, then like I would like to be in a servant leadership mindset sometimes, and then I would also like to be in a bureaucratic leadership mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like my perfect leader would be some sort of like combination of maybe those two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I feel like now, especially just kind of like, I feel like we're almost in like a transition time in our
Mm,
society right now,
how
because I'm
so?
seeing a lot of uh, Gen Zs, millennials, and like boomers. I don't know who are is that Gen X? Like the 40-year
Boomers.
olds?
Wait, hang on.
What are the
Baby
40-year olds?
boomers are X. Yeah, X.
Wait, what are the 40-year olds? They're what are
They're
they? The 40-year olds, you know what I'm talking about, middle-aged people kind of
right.
going out and entering almost entering millennials. Okay. Millennials.
Millennials. Mike says millennials, but I feel like millennials are a little younger. Um, maybe I don't
Maybe.
know, but like
I don't know,
late
but
millennial, early
yeah,
baby
yeah, I
boomer.
feel like they're starting to enter slowly are starting to enter retirement, and slowly the younger generation are starting to get in more management in leadership sort of
Yeah.
roles. So I feel like that's definitely going to have an impact on not just how we impact the younger generation, because we got to start thinking about that now because we're adults,
I know.
which is
Isn't that
crazy.
crazy?
Yeah, like we got to set an example now. It's on us.
Oh, I do not
So
feel like, oh, that's insane to me.
yeah, so not only that, but also just how us as a society are moving forward in the
Right.
workforce, in the workspace, and just things like that. Really.
Yeah. I feel like um there it's so interesting to like think about that line between, is this change happening just because people are aging? Like will older
Hmm.
generations always, because I feel like even if you like think back to like, for example, like my grandma will tell stories and be like, oh yeah, my grandma was so strict, or like my mom was
Hmm.
so strict, and I'm like, okay, but I feel like you're that way too, you know? So like, do you think
Yeah,
it's just aging, or do you think it's like some wisdom that we don't have? I
I
don't
think
know.
it's probably a little it's probably a little both. I think maturity comes into play, because like you can be mature and you can be younger, you can be immature, you can be older, vice versa.
Right.
So, but I also think like it's kind of like almost the people you surround yourself with as well. I think to a degree, not saying there's a specific group that you have to surround yourself with, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
we act a way that we act similar to the people we're around. So if we hang around um, people who are maybe more like into like whatever the younger generation is going on with, where we will take some of those aspects with us.
Right.
Or
Unfortunately.
and yeah, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we won't be able to. Comedy will be going down, decline in the
Oh,
next few years. Just think of like all the stand-up like comedians that will like be out
it
of
will be Gen
jobs.
Alpha someday. I'm just kidding. We're really hating on Gen Alpha. Honestly, though, Gen Alpha keeps me in my place. I feel like they're
Yeah,
really like I okay. So here's what I think about Gen Alpha is that they've been
hmm,
exposed to so much technology. They like were raised like they're like the. I mean, we kind of were
they were
iPad
born and
kids.
there's an iPad.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. So I feel like
I
they're
didn't get an
exposed to
iPad
so
till
much.
like yeah, I've never had an
Yeah.
iPad, but like a phone, like even a phone, I didn't
Yeah.
really have access to until I was like mid-teenage. So
Yeah, right, exactly. So I feel like they have been exposed to so much that they're kind of like hardened in some ways.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like,
was talking to a kid yesterday. There's this kid like with his mom walking out of church, and I was like, "Hey, what do you do? What do you do for fun?" And he was like, I play video games." I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Anything else?" And he looked at me with a straight face, and he said, "Yeah, I like looking into the psychological mind of humans or something like that." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he showed me this book, this giant book, and I was like, "All right, bro, like."
yeah, I
They're
was
they're
not
either
reading them.
I feel like there's either they're going into like researching things that are like going to better them, like almost like that lane, and there's a lane
Mm.
of TikTok.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yes.
You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
like two different ways. But I look like sometimes I'll be looking into like I'm not looking into. I will like pass a group of like younger kids and just see how they talk to each other, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's like a
I don't
different
know.
language. And you know
Yeah, it's
what?
just like
Other
feels
generations are
weird.
probably thinking about that about us too, which is really
That's probably
perplexing to
true.
me.
That is
Yeah.
probably true. Yeah,
Um,
that's probably true.
but yeah, I wonder what kind of leaders they'll want. Probably, I have no idea. That's actually gonna be so interesting.
My thing is, I hope that whatever happens to leadership in the future, I hope that it stays similar to, or not say similar. I hope it has some aspect of impacting not just the group, but the people. Every single person gets impacted. Like I just hope
Right.
that's the thing, that we're not counting people as just numbers, um,
Yeah.
or at least not making people feel like they're just numbers. Because
Right.
I feel like when that starts, then it doesn't matter who's leading, the whole organization gets taken down, and the whole
Right.
community gets taken down. I feel like everyone's a person and everyone should be treated that way. I just hope that stays.
Yeah. Well, you know, the most popular leadership style is democratic. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's a very valid point to have, especially living in the United States.
Yeah.
Um, but also, it is a very westernized leadership style, like we were talking
Hmm.
about. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that it's the most popular, because Western culture is so ingrained in like every part of the world.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I feel like it'll be so interesting to see, and also to see how these different styles relate to the stuff we're talking about later. I feel like I have such a better like understanding now. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I did no research about the ones that you had because I was like, I just want to hear him yap about it. Like and I wrote some notes down as you were talking and stuff because I was like, I
Hmm.
need to like remember this for later, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like I took like a leadership class my freshman year, and that like
Okay.
opened my eyes so much to like what leadership really is. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that was a big eye opener for me, because beforehand I used to think leadership was just being at a certain place or role in society.
Right.
And now I know you can have zero leadership skills and be at a high place in society.
Yeah.
Or you can be a leader in the lowest parts of society and still impact lots of people.
Yeah. I
So
think
I
so
think,
too.
yeah,
I think it's a
yeah, I think it's good to
mindset.
look at it, yeah, like that way. Like, yeah, mindset. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think we yapped a lot. I think it was
I think we killed
a really
that.
good talk. Yeah, I think we did too. Yeah.
I think we killed.
Hopefully someone's not sitting there like, hopefully we have hopefully no, you know what I mean? Like, hopefully there's something they could take away from this, is what I'm trying
Right.
to say.
Leadership is a mindset.
I hope
Um,
these past 30 or so minutes were impactful towards your day.
right. And I hope that we
Definitely.
didn't offend any Gen Alpha people in the process
Oh,
because we
yes.
love you
Yeah, yeah.
so much and we need you.
We
We need
do.
you.
We definitely do need you, because definitely,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
Okay. Well, how should we end this? This is our first episode and I'm just spitballing here right now. So, what
I
should we do?
think uh I think we should end with a question for everyone
Okay.
watching. I think
Okay.
we should end with, how will you change or impact your community from what you've heard today, and how will you use that to not only better yourself, but the community that you're in?
Oh my gosh, Elliot, that was so insightful.
Just a little rhetorical,
Yeah, we're gonna call that Elliot's Corner, and we're gonna end every episode with a question from you.
I like that idea.
So get ready. All right, we're exiting Elliot's Corner. We're saying goodbye, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Bye.
Bye, guys.